Hello, everyone. You may have heard that Breaking Through Glass Ceilings has recently partnered with Symphony of Balloons. Symphony of Balloons offers luxury balloons for your event as well as a 360 booth. So, if you're looking to save money, simply mention that you heard about this service on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings and you can save 10% on your order. All right, ladies and gentlemen, usually before these shows, I give this long monologue, usually it's about a minute, and I talk about the person and my connection. But since this is the second in-person version of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings and the 100th traditional episode, we're gonna get right into it. And I told y'all I had a special guest, and you can see it is my one youngest sister, my best friend, the one and only Meagan Talbert.
Hi, hello.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because it's just funny seeing you in your element. That's all.
You act like you ain't never seen me in my element.
But interviewing me.
So before we get started, I usually ask people how they doing. So how are you today?
I'm doing good. I can't complain.
You look nervous. What are you nervous for?
Because I don't know what you're gonna ask.
I know, that's the point. It's me.
So you didn't give me
Nope.
Pre-interview questions, nothing. So I'm literally like, when someone knows so much about you, you're like, what are you gonna ask me? I need to know.
Well, if you watch the show,
I do watch the show. I've seen a couple episodes, if not all.
All right, so yeah, but today, I definitely wanted to talk about, your business, your venture as a vlogger and a content creator. You finally stepped into this space. Something I actually told her to do years ago when she dragged me to Towson University on for her project.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
A long time ago.
But so let's go start with our education. We both went to the same schools, the first two. Shout out to Baltimore City College. Shout out to the now defunct Shrine of Little Flower. But what made you choose Towson University?
Honestly, it was their choir, which ironically, after getting more information about it, I didn't actually join. But I was just like, oh, I really love their gospel choir. And then I liked the fact that it was still close enough to home, because at the time when I graduated high school, I wasn't about that I want to move far away life. I still wanted to be pretty close. So yeah, that's why I chose Towson. And yeah, I met some really great people there.
You did?
I did. I know now, though, and I was just having this conversation with my best friend the other day. Looking back, I probably more than likely would have chosen an HBCU instead of a PWI, but I'm thankful for my education. Like I said, I did meet a lot of cool people when I was at Towson.
Yeah. I don't know why, but your time at Towson is such a blur to me.
It is. It seemed like it went fast and slow all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I probably took you to school once or a couple times or picked you up.
Yeah.
But it's like a blur. I haven't tell you about the time. Yeah, we're going to share this on the podcast. I will tell you about that time I dodged a bullet when I was on my way to pick you up.
What do you mean dodged a bullet? Like a literal bullet or?
Not a literal one. But I was about to go to this girl house.
No, you never told me about that time.
And I was there and I seen a roach.
And you was like, I got to pick up my sister.
Yeah. And the funny
as an excuse.
I mean, I did have to pick you up. I actually went to the Twins, hung out with them.
Yeah.
Ended up meeting the dude Marty and got a gig, hit the wedding gig later. But the funniest thing, I talked to Uncle Mike about it. And,
yeah. So Towson saved the day.
Towson saved the day. But shout out to Tasha and Trika, my friends who went up there. And I used to stay up there hanging out with them more than I hung out with you. Because you did you go to any parties?
Up at Towson?
Yeah.
No, because when I was in college, I worked as well. So if I wasn't at work, I was at class, and then the in between time I was studying. So I didn't do a lot of partying.
Yeah, I know.
I partied after college. Me and my best friend. It was after college because she went away to college, and then when she would come back, we would go out. But then she came back, we were both graduated, and then
You
that's when we
party.
did our party.
I think only party I really remember is the time me, you, and Nikki all went out for Nikki's 29th birthday.
Wow.
I think it was like 29.
29?
It might have been. Yeah, it was years ago, and we all went out. We went to Eden's Lounge. And Fur was there, too. You remember that night?
I do.
Oh, okay. Because I remember she texted like, "Our sister had fun." But yeah, so, you worked, and then fast forward through that. You decided, you met this great guy, as they say on the Cheap Heat podcast, a great guy. Mm-hmm. Your husband, my brother. He became my brother after y'all got married. I want to make sure people understand that. Not that they was
no incest.
Yeah, but then y'all created y'all business, Symphony of Balloons. Talk about that. What made y'all want to, nobody thinks about balloons as a lucrative business. Right. Everybody thinks oh, you know what? I want to have balloons. It's just balloons. I'm going to have a party. I'm going to blow up some balloons. This will be good. So talk about that process.
Okay, so we started Symphony of Balloons when we were actually dating, my husband and I. So
whoa, y'all started a business while y'all was dating.
We were dating.
That's bold.
He came.
Well, I
to
guess
me
y'all knew y'all was the one.
Just talking to him, he was like, "Babe, what do you think about balloons?" And I was like, "Balloons." I had that same reaction, like people like balloons, and he's like, "Yeah." And shout out to my husband. Shout out to you, Boo. If you're watching, I know you are. But he is a go-getter. So it's like, I have an idea, I'm going to implement it, and I'm going to go get it. And in turn, just being around him, that energy has made me more of a just go out there, step out on faith kind of person. Because me, I'm the type of person, I want to plan it out. I want to know all the logistics. I want to have it all mapped out to the very end before I take that step. But, in faith, in life, you can't always have things that way. So he talked about it. He was like, "What do you think about balloons?" He was like, one of his friends was having a class, and he took the class, and then he came and he was teaching me some things, and I was like, okay, it's pretty cool. So at the time, we did a couple of jobs for family and friends, and I don't even think we charged at that point. It was just doing them to just make their birthday special or their event special. And then it wasn't until 2019, January of 2019, did we really hone in and really start focusing on really truly making it a business. Mm-hmm. So I remember this. It was January in particular, and I remember it so vividly because, we had booked this baby shower, and it was our first paid gig, and I was nervous. I think he was a little bit nervous too, and we pre-constructed the arch and everything, and then the day of the baby shower, it was snowing like crazy. It was snowing like crazy, but the person that had booked with us said it was indeed still on. The baby shower was still going to happen. They just might have it a little, not earlier, but they might end it a little earlier, but they were still going to have it before it, got icy and froze over. So we had to drive out. It was a little bit further from where we lived, and we had to go out there. Far? And probably a good 45 to 50 minutes. Mm-hmm. And we drove out there. We put it up. We stayed out there because we still had to break it down afterwards. And, it was just snowing. And I remember his car actually got stuck in the snow, and it got stuck. And it was just oh my goodness. Daddy? No, I didn't.
What kind of was even,
My little putt got through it. And I was like, I'm going to make you a trail.
Wait, what was he driving?
We ain't gonna talk about that.
Oh, okay. Because see what you should have did.
Let's just say he has an SUV, and I don't have an SUV, but my little putt got through it.
You done downgraded your car to a putt now?
No, it's not a putt.
I mean,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a nice vehicle, but it's not a sports utility vehicle. And you would think oh, that's not going to be able to travel through the snow, but I did. So we were able to get through the snow. And I remember telling him it's such a difference when it's your business mm-hmm. versus working for a company. And when I say that, I mean that you figure out how to make it work. You know, it's no, I'm going to call my supervisor or I'm going to contact, you know, my team. It's literally you or you and your partner or, you know, you and your nuclear group that have to figure out, you know, how we're going to make this work. How is this going to happen? So yeah, that's the story. That's how, you know, we got started, and then from then on, we were booking pretty consistently, and yeah, and here we are.
What's been the
We've added
thing?
other services as well
So let's talk about the balloons real quick. What's been the thing that you learned about balloons?
that they're gonna pop. So I know that might sound like, well, duh, but we've had events outside, and we've had, of course, indoor events, but just depending on different things, different variables like temperature and things like that. You know, if you're using a darker colored balloon, if you're using quality balloons. So when people say, oh, it's just balloons, there's a lot of educating yourself and, you know, being versed in the business and just knowing how to construct them that goes into, you know, a balloon installation. It's not just, oh, I just blew up the balloons and I put them together. It may look easy and it may look like, oh, I can just do that, or it's simple enough, but it is a learning curve. It does take some time to learn different tips and tricks and, you know, just how to put them together, how to construct them to make them look nice, to make them last. It does.
So if you want balloons to last, so granted, obviously you want them to last for that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about people who don't need them to last, you know, 3 months in their own home?
So we do stand by our balloons. They do last, and they can last, you know, for a while. Mm-hmm. But one thing that we do offer as a service is we do offer a takedown service. So we'll come in, we'll construct the balloons, and then you have your event, and we'll come back and we'll, you know, pop the balloons and take them and clean them up. So that is an add-on service that we include as well. And sometimes we've had parties where people have asked to keep some and then distribute them to their guests.
Okay.
And they've used them for like their upcoming party. So it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, because your niece loved hers. This is why Symphony of Balloons is one of the partners of this podcast. Just remember, you can save 10% on your order. Just mention that you learned about Symphony of Balloons from Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. So, y'all offer other services.
Yes.
One of the things I know is the 360 camera.
Yes.
How has that been? Because, you know, it's something, you know how things become a fad, right? Mm-hmm. So, podcasting. During 2020, everybody was stuck in the house. I'm going to start a podcast. You don't know how many text messages I got.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a podcast. And I was talking to one of my close friends, and we was talking about how in the Black wrestling community, it was either sink or swim, and everybody swam. As far as the, you know, ones that's still going, right? Mm-hmm. There was a lot of exchanging of information of, hey, I see you got this. How do you do that? Oh, well, I see you do this. And you saw people thrive, and those are the ones that's still going. Mm-hmm. You know, the ones that, if you go on Apple iTunes, you can see, Apple Podcasts, there's a lot of 1 episode, 2 episodes, 3 episodes. We celebrating 100 here today, Shawty.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's really 100 plus when you add in the special episodes or the uncomfortable conversations, but 100 traditionals. My question for you is the 360 camera. Mm-hmm. It was a time where everybody thought, oh, I could just go get a 360 camera. What have you learned that make you say, I see why everybody couldn't last?
Well, I think with anything, even like with balloons, because you have people in the industry that say, oh, that's simple enough. I can watch a couple of tutorials and I can do that as well. Mm-hmm. And I am a firm believer in YouTube University. I love YouTube. I have my own channel on YouTube and I enjoy the platform. But I do think it's something to be said about taking the time to really learn and know your craft. And with the 360 camera, we've been on jobs, we've been at events where people come up and they'll inquire about our pricing, and then they'll say things like, oh, I can do that. Oh, that's quick. That's easy. But what we try to focus on is curating a experience and a space for our clients that they're like, oh, I really liked how they, presented the 360 camera,
Yeah.
how they were interacting with our guests, just like their overall experience was pleasant, and I want to book with them again because, I've been to events and they've had 360 cameras and they're like, oh yeah, you just go over there and do that. So when you go over to, get up on the camera and the people are so dry and they're just like not welcoming, they're like stand still and like spending, and you're like, okay. So we try to make it a fun experience because, sometimes, especially with your guests, they might not be comfortable or they might just not know how it works. We did one event where like a lot of the guests there had never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. So just getting to explain it to them and interact with them. And I think the important part is like zone in on what you're doing and like kind of block out all the noise. Like there's always going to be competition, and there's always going to be somebody who might say, oh, I can offer a better price. If you're going to charge $200, I'm going to charge $158, and that's going to make people book with me. But you have to look at the quality of the work, and it's also important that you link with people who want to see you thrive as well. So that's something that you mentioned. Getting in spaces with people who want to push you, or if they know a little bit more, they can say, oh, well, this is what I use, or this is what I do. So we don't work just, oh, we're Symphony of Balloons, but we do have other contacts so that if a job is, we receive an inquiry about a job and we're unable to fulfill that for whatever reason, we can link them with someone and say, hey, we know this person does good work as well. And it's not a thing where they're like, oh, well, I'm a underbid that and I'm going to try to take their clients, or any of that kind of weird behavior. So you want people in your space that's going to support you, that's going to help you. Like you said, like, it's helping me grow and I'm going to help you grow because I don't know about this, but I can teach you. So yeah.
So when you look back, and this ain't the end of the podcast, but I'm going to ask this question early. When you look back at your business, when did you and your husband break through the glass ceiling?
I knew that was coming.
You did.
You know what? I think for us, it was just really the stepping out on faith and really saying, we're going to do this full force. And that was a moment for both of us because it was just like, people, like you said in the beginning, oh, it's just balloons.
That might be the name of the episode.
You really, make a living, earn a decent income off of just balloons. But it's a lot more to it than that. It's a curated experience. It's seeing your client's reaction, just being in the moment to celebrate with them, because a lot of times we're booked for, birthday parties or celebratory events. We've even been booked for, some not so celebratory events, such as like funerals and
you've done funerals?
Repasses, yeah.
Wait, the actual funeral, not just the
repasses.
Wait,
I should say.
all right.
Which of course, that was like, well, why would you want balloons?
Who has balloons? Are they black?
Huh?
Are they like black balloons and white balloons?
No, they pick their colors.
Okay.
What they want, and
That's
because now repasses aren't like traditional repasses that
I know mine won't.
We're not going to talk.
I mean, I ain't gonna say.
But like it's more of a.
Remember you helped me write my obituary for homework?
Yes, I do.
I can do this. This is my sister.
He can interrupt me all he wants. But it's just offering the experience for the client, for the customer, and just making sure that they love it, and it's something they can look back on and say, oh wow, like I really enjoy this and it's really special.
Yeah, well, that's certainly awesome. Let's take a quick break. We got a word from For Your Wear. Shout out to the homie Blue. We'll be right back.
What up? It's your boy Blue Magic, owner of For Your Wear and one half of the Mixed Tag Show. Now, I know you've seen the announcements from some of your favorite podcasters and wrestlers. I've decided to expand my business to become a vendor so that people from the wrestling community have a better way to communicate with some of their favorites. So check out foryourway.com and see if your favorite podcaster or wrestler has partnered up with me. If not, let them know that they should. Also, if you're looking for a vendor for your merchandise, reach out to me at Blue Magic Grind, spell how it sound on Twitter or Instagram, or at ForYourWear, FORURWEAR, on Twitter and on Instagram. Shout out to Brian H. Waters and Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Their merchandise are already up, and they're one of the first ones that supported, so go support them. All right? Peace.
All right, we're back. Make sure y'all get y'all merchandise. Y'all can get Breaking Through Glass Ceilings t-shirts like the one I got on. I got hoodies, the No Ceilings Above Success t-shirts. And guess what? They only $20. I said, I don't want to hit the people in the head. But shout out to everybody who's purchased the shirt. I'm going to try to name some names. I ain't going to probably get everybody, but I know Aunt Arlene, she bought 2 shirts. Shout out to Marin, she bought a hoodie. Shout out to Ciendo, she bought the No Ceilings Above Success shirt. Shout out to Justin, he bought this shirt. Shout out to Queen PR, she got this shirt. And obviously, Mommy bought some shirts. Mm-hmm. she bought something for Uncle Kurt, Aunt Hazel, and Glennis. So shout out to everybody who got t-shirts. And if I missed you, I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh, Luis.
Okay.
Yeah, what?
I was gonna say charge it to your head, not your heart.
There you go. See, y'all see, she was the the smarter sibling.
No.
And she had the straight A's. Even though you remember that time we had that contest, my last year in high school, who could get the higher GPA?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah, because I had. Well, in all fairness, I had
easy classes.
Yeah. So my last semester, I'll never forget
electives.
This. Weight training. Keyboarding 2. Hey, keyboarding 2 is hard. You ever had Miss Hall? Band, jazz band, and speech.
Well, Mr. Gallup?
Yeah, Mr. Gallup.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my I had all A's. But my daughter get all A's now, so and she getting it in real classes in 2nd grade.
Those are real classes.
Well, you was getting it in algebra, English, what else? US history, because you used to come home and do like all your work. I'm like, and when I got to college, I was
But shout out to Brian, because I remember walking in on him and he was reading his textbook.
In college. After I had my scholarship taken.
But see, I remember it was like freshman. It was a freshman class that we had to take, and they were like, "Oh, don't read the textbooks, Kim." And I was just like, "Well, how are you gonna know if you missed something?" But yeah, I
was reading it, and then I'll never forget this. I was reading the history book, right? And then when it came time to like answer the questions, I was getting them all right, and I said, literally in that moment,
"This makes sense."
No, that ain't what I said. This is how Meagan got straight A's. She was reading the book in high school. And I had dreams to go to Syracuse. They was black and orange. Oh, they was orange and white, really. But that was my dream school. And I'm like, had I did this, I probably could have went. But then I found out how cold it was. I only ended up living in Connecticut.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Where it's cold
Look,
yeah.
But the other day I was saying, I said, look, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I said, if Pastor Watkins was still there, I said I might consider going back.
No, you wouldn't.
It was that and like something else. I was saying, man, that would be the only way. But nah, shout out to Pastor Watkins. I talked to him the other day on Instagram. But back to you, Meagan. That's an insider. But now you getting in the vlogging. And the reason why I'm so happy, not only because I love what I do and I love the actual business of content creation, but it's because I always knew that you were a great storyteller and you were always creative. Even though you love script, you love cursive, everything. That is your signature.
I do.
Goodness
It's something elegant about it.
Whatever.
And I know that, it's a faux pas in the content creation community, but I just like it.
Hey,
I'm one of the few people left, I think, that still
you and Krista B.
In cursive.
You and Krista B. Every time I see something she write or put together, it's in that script. And I said,
Hey, it's a signature. It's a calling card.
Yeah. But so you decide to hop into the space.
Yeah.
When did you say, all right, I'm gonna do this?
So it started in 2017. Was it 2017?
Megan Javon TV?
Yeah. I think it was 2017. I launched my channel on my birthday and I was so excited about it. Those videos. Those videos.
You know what they say? You hate your first 100.
Well, yeah.
But I don't hate my first 100 episodes of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings because it ain't about me, it's about everybody else.
No, but when I look back at it, I was like, oh my gosh, like the video is so grainy. I was actually just watching it the other day, but I wanted to kind of like record moments in my life and have them to look back on. So I did like a couple of makeup videos. I really enjoy makeup. So I did a couple of those and then it was just life. You know, life got in the way, so to speak. And, you know, with working and everything else, I just stopped. And I kept saying, oh, I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And it wasn't until this past summer. So I've been consistent for like the last 6 months or so. And my channel started off like at like 23 subscribers and we're almost at 100. So I'm really thankful. I'm really proud of that. I'm building that community and I was just like, I really want to do this. What's stopping me? Like, you know, a lot of times it was just like, well, I don't have all the equipment. I don't have this. I don't have that. But like, you have your phone, you know, and you can do a lot on your phone. So I started with my phone. And now I've been upgraded. I have a camera and that has been really fun. Just learning different programs and things like that. But I just was like, go ahead and do it. Like, you know, next year I'm going to be looking back talking about, I wish I would have started. So I just went on and took the plunge and I'm really thankful that I did because like it's been so much fun and even down to the editing process and some days where it's like, well, I had to work and I have to do this and I have to do that, but I'm still going to squeeze in some time so that I can record and so that I can edit so that I can maintain my schedule because I don't know, like somebody may be coming on there and may be looking forward to my video and then I don't post, you know, and not to say that life might not get in the way and something might not happen and I might be off my schedule, but I try to be as consistent as I can with that.
I think a lot of times people don't understand and
sorry.
I was talking to Ashley Baker one day and we was talking about like views and listeners, right? And when you start off, you might have like 20 or 30. And she said the way she look at it is that's 30 people in the room listening to her. Yeah. And it's a different perspective, you know?
It really is. And when I started my channel, I was very adamant about the fact like, oh, I don't want to get caught up in the metrics. I don't want to be looking at the views and this, that, and other. So when I first started, I was averaging about 60 to like 75 views per episode. So of course it's like, oh, that's pretty decent. And then it was getting down into like 20 and
YouTube
then
want you to pay.
10 and the 15s. And I'm like, well, what is going on? So like it's human nature. It's inevitable to not have that become a part of like, you know, is it my content? Is it not interesting enough anymore? You know, why am I not getting the engagement that I was before? But then I just was like, no, like don't focus on that. Actually focus on creating things that you enjoy, that you would enjoy watching. And, you know, the people will come. And that's how I look at it because, you know, sometimes when I'm just like my experience on there, this is very early on, when I had like a, so to speak, viral video. And I was so excited because I was like, oh, that's like 2.5K views and like, wow, like that many people have watched it. But I had some like really mean comments. And I remember calling Brian. I was like, it was so mean. Like somebody asked if I was a man and I was just so like taken aback. Like nothing about me says man. So why are you saying?
It's funny.
My feelings were so hurt. And Brian was kind of like, shrug off his shoulders. You know how many crazy things people have said about me on the internet and the things that they have told me, Megan, like it comes with the territory. You gotta, you know, realize that the people that know you, like, know, and the people who don't, they don't really know you. You know what I mean? And those people are just like, trolls are gonna come. So like that,
embrace
I think that
the
was
trolls.
a lesson early on that I need to learn and just be cognizant of. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, that's so real. And like, you know, you didn't threaten my life, but it did take me aback.
Trolls help. You know, they help the algorithm. The other night on TWG Fan Club, Queen PR said she addressed the comment that was on Those Wrestling Girls channel. And if you know anything about them, you know that they work in uplifting the community, especially the women in the community. And they said, y'all don't even talk about black women. Now, clearly, if anybody
they don't listen to the channel.
They don't listen to the channel. They don't watch. Both of them been on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings to share how they got this podcast started. And one thing, you know, that's different is having two black women talk about wrestling. Mm-hmm. So when this person said that, like, so she goes off on the show, and the one thing she said was, thank you, because guess what? You just helped out algorithm, because you, with the negative comment, it's just like, oh, well, why is this negative? You know, and it's crazy how the internet, the metrics work. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and that's the one thing I always told you. Don't get caught up in the negative comments. It's natural. 10 people tell you beautiful. One person say you ugly. Then you think about that person. You know, that's human nature. Like, you see celebrities do it all the time.
Like, you don't respond to the people that are like,
Kevin Durant.
So genuine to you and really happy for you, really happy to see you. But the person that is being a jerk, you're ready to go at it with them. And, you know, like I said, it really, you know, I was so taken aback by it, because I was like, I'm over here minding my business, doing my makeup videos, doing my vlogging. Like, why did you have to be so mean?
She out here
why did
getting
you
money.
have to comment that so negatively? Like, you could have looked at the video and scrolled past it. So
I used to see Kelsey Nelson do it. She was episode 2. Mm. She would do Periscope. When we first met and we was creating content for Fox Sports, she would do a Periscope video, and I'm watching like all the comments because I'm monitoring everything. So I said, "You look like a man." This, that, and that, yeah. And she would just scroll through it, like, and then keep going. And you know, eventually, like when you do this so often, you just look at the comments or you laugh at it. You know what I mean? I remember I was working with Chael Sonnen, who used to be a UFC fighter. He was at ESPN. I said, so I'm monitoring the comments, and I won't bring up the negative ones. He said, oh, no, man, say the negative ones. He said, we're going to have fun with those. And clearly they can't beat him because, you know, he's a professional fighter. And, you know, but people like to be keyboard warriors. And I always say, embrace them. You know, but what's been one of the most rewarding things, and especially like, you know, I've seen you be out and about and you talk about your channel, and I can see how happy you are and excited you are about it, to the point your niece is looking right at you, which I always say is the reason why her birthday 10 days after yours. She looked just like you when she was born. But you know, aside from her, what's been one of the most rewarding things about having your YouTube channel?
I think it really has helped me get out of my shell a lot more, because I felt like, you know, growing up I was kind of shy.
You do the announcements in church.
I felt like I felt like I was shy, but then when I got older, I felt like, oh, well, I'm not as shy as I was, you know, 10, 15 years ago. But I think it's really like helping me to step out even more out of that, because I've been in the store and, you know, just talking to different people and coming across people, and they'll make a mention or a comment about my makeup. And I'm like, oh, by the way, I do have a channel, and, you know, check me out at Meagan TV on all social platforms, on YouTube, Twitter, what else? Facebook,
you TikTok.
Yes, I have TikTok.
You use the hashtag makeup TikTok. I've learned, like, if you put such and such TikTok, it's a thing. It's like for all my wrestling videos, hashtag wrestling TikTok. It's like over 1 billion views. See, I'm still teaching.
Well, thanks for the information. I didn't know that. But being out and about and getting to share that with people, and I genuinely enjoy makeup. I do makeup for clients as well, and just seeing their reaction when I'm finished, and they're like, "Oh, I really love it," and just seeing that like light come out of them, and that, you know, just that joy. And I feel like that's what I want to do with my channel. Again, it specializes in lifestyle, inspiration, and beauty. Heavy on the inspiration, because I love talking about just more so on the vlogging side, but I love
Mhm.
talking about just like things that I've experienced and how they can help you or help other people. And I think that's needed. Like, we need community, and we need good community, not
That's
people
true.
with weird vibes or people who want to be trolls, but good community. I think it's important. So
Yeah.
that's been the highlight of it. Just, and then seeing something that you create, like it was in my head and now it's on my screen. Like, it trips me out every time.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. I will put the channel on and watch.
What is that watch?
I watch it. I watch the vlogs more
because I don't need to know about a smoky eye. I don't need to know about this concealer.
Hey, that's what your niece for. She'll look at it and be in the store. Can we go in this store? Because I gotta get this.
Yes, she asked to go to Sephora. I thought that was the cutest thing.
Yeah, almost. And look, I almost bought a $19 makeup brush because I ain't know any better. Shout out to the girl that worked there. She was like, "Sir, if she's just practicing, you go to 5 and below."
Oh, but she would have had it for a lifetime. I would have been like, my dad invested in my dream.
I will eventually. I did.
No, honestly, when I first started makeup, I remember being in Sephora and it was like a $28 brush. And I was like, well, what's the difference between this brush and something I can get at the drugstore? And the girl looked at me like I was crazy. She was like, oh, it's a professional quality. Now I do know doing makeup, the difference in brushes. And
it used to be that way with HDMI cables at Best Buy.
I get it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was just learning. I was just like, well, don't they do the same thing? So, yeah.
All right. So before we get out of here, this is episode 100.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Shout out to everybody who let me interview them and came on here to tell their stories and been inspired. That's the thing that's make me happy when somebody say, oh, I love this podcast because I love hearing this person's story or hear that person's story. Because like I said, it's not all about me. I say a couple things, but it's more about getting what you can get from the guests.
Building a community. And when you hear other people's stories, I feel like a lot of times, especially like with celebrities and stuff, we see like, oh, they were an overnight success. And even though they say, oh, I'm not an overnight success, I was doing this for 10, 15 years before. Now you guys are just catching up to what I've been doing. But seeing quote unquote everyday people going after their dreams and making an impact and, making things happen, it really does inspire you to like get up and go get it. Like, I don't know, like at least it does for me. I'm like, yeah, like I could do that too. Or
I mean, for me too, it's been a great way to catch up with my friends. So like, for instance, when I interviewed Krishana, me and Krishana was like the best of friends in college. She was somebody who I always say, like, I remember that we had this law class and she got like the A on the project nobody else did. And I was like, okay, she gonna help me. And then we just clicked. And life happens. She moves. We talk here and there through text. But being able to do that episode, we was able to catch up on so much. You know what I mean? Then there's people who I was working with every day when I was at Hopkins. Like, hey, come on the podcast. And then they talk about their journey before they got to Hopkins. Then we could share some of the stories. And then you got like people I work with at ESPN. They could share the horror stories that they couldn't share while they were there. So it's been definitely a lot of fun. Even like with all the people I interviewed in the wrestling community who can showcase like, because everybody in wrestling think that, like, wrestling fans think all podcasters are just people who like wrestling and decide to podcast. But like, no, these are media professionals. So then they get to see like, oh, wait, they actually know what they're doing. They're trained in this. So that's what's been a joy about this. Now, I want you, maybe you could share a story. This is the only time it'd be about me, except the episodes that I do. Like I had the "Where You Been, Brian" episode. But what do you think people would be surprised, or what question you think people would ask you about me that since you my sister? And what do you think people? What's the one thing you think people would be surprised to learn about me?
Oh, okay. Because I think you've talked about everything under the sun as far as your wrestling journey, how you became a wrestling fan. But I think people
except that you're the only person to ever make me tap out with that Steiner recliner.
But I think they would want to know, like, what is Brian outside of wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is he like outside of, just being a wrestling fan, a wrestling podcaster, a producer, a host? And I would say that, like, Brian is genuinely a kind person, and he genuinely wants to see people win. And like, I think about, like, when you're younger, of course you have like that sibling thing, like, get out of my room, don't touch my stuff, get away from me. And they say, like, it's something weird about siblings, and then you grow up, and then one day you're like, this person's actually really cool, like, I really like this person. And I think, like, that was, like, we didn't have a journey where it was like, oh, I hate you or anything like that. Like, we've always been friends. But I think, like, being older and having a sibling is, like, a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. And that you're still close to, you still can talk to. And I remember being at his house one day, and it sounds like I'm about to cry, but I'm probably...
like, wait, don't you start.
I'm getting emotional, guys. No, I remember being at his house, and he was connecting someone with the guy had told him he had went to speak at a school, and he was like, oh, like, I'm interested in, being some type of doctor. And he's like, oh, well, I actually know that type of doctor. Let me get you connected with them. And just those simple acts of kindness that you can do that for someone with nothing to gain. It wasn't like, okay, pay me a consultation fee and give me $50 or $100 and then I'll link you. It was just like, out the kindness of my heart, and I'm going to do this because, like, I just want to see you win. Mm-hmm. It's nothing in it for me. I'm not trying to get anything from it, but I want to see you win. And I remember telling him, like, you probably just changed the whole trajectory of that person's life, because I'm a firm believer that if you can see it, you can be it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think representation is so important.
That's true.
Especially in different spaces that we as women, as Black people, typically aren't in. And to be able to say, like, oh, I want to be I think it was a cardiothoracic...
thoracic surgeon.
Yeah. So, like, you're like, okay, people say I want to be a doctor, mm-hmm. but then to know, like, I want to be this type of doctor, and this is what my specialty is, and being able to talk to someone who is doing that and having that mentor, and they can tell you, hey, well, like, get linked with these programs, and this is what you should be doing over the summer to prepare yourself, and these are the classes that you need to be immersing yourself in. It's going to change that person's whole life. And I was just like, that, like, how a person is, people have their on-camera personas, and they're like, hey, yeah, da, 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 da. But to be a kind person in everyday life, that's rare. And I'm just glad that, like, I know someone like Brian, and that we're friends. Like, we're siblings by default. Like, we
ain't have a choice.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice.
Well, technically I did. I asked for a younger sibling.
Yeah, okay. But we didn't have a choice in that, but we're friends by choice. And that is so important. And like I said, just to see the type of person that Brian is outside of, just the wrestling space, because, and even when his time working at Hopkins, even like his passion has always been wrestling and sports and, that type of entertainment. He didn't go in with the attitude of like, oh, science. Like, here we go.
Well, I had the best team too.
And was learning, and he immersed himself in just even coming home and telling, like, my mom and me about different things, and just still putting his best foot forward. Like, I'm a firm believer, how you do one thing is how you do everything, and he does everything with, like, the best attitude, and, like, he does it to the best of his ability. And I think that's why you have so many blessings. And that's why
I didn't know you was going to go this long.
God blesses you so immensely because of how you care for other people and how you take care of them. And how, like, you provide opportunities when you don't have to. You could keep the knowledge that you have bundled up and be like, well, I don't want them to be better than me. And he has always said that to even me. Like, Meagan, I'm going to teach you because I want you to be better than me. It's not a thing where, like, oh, she might pop off or get put on or whatever the terminology these kids are saying now. But like he always wants to push.
It's lonely at the top.
Forward, you know.
It's lonely.
And that's like Kevin Hart. That's something he said, you know. He was just like, of course I'm gonna bring my team, and like I want us all to win because of that same reason. Like it's not fun if you're like, oh, like I have all of this, but my friends, my brothers or my sisters or, you know, just my friends, my people are struggling. Like it's space for everyone to eat. So yeah. Thank you.
Wow. I just try, you know, I'm blessed, and you know, I want to see everybody else be blessed. We gotta get out of here. So let the people know where they can find you.
I am on YouTube at Meagan Vaughn TV. Again, I specialize in beauty, lifestyle, and inspirational content. So go ahead and give me a subscribe. Go ahead and check out my channel. I would love to have you a part of the Meagan Vaughn TV family. Also, I'm on Instagram at Meagan Vaughn TV, on Facebook at Meagan Vaughn TV, and on Twitter and TikTok at the same handle at Meagan Vaughn TV. So yeah,
wait, Twitter's Meagan Vaughn TV now?
It should be. It was.
It was makeup music.
Oh, you know what? My Twitter.
Because I'm sitting there like, what?
At Meagan Vaughn TV is on my banner, but my handle, because I think I couldn't get into my old Twitter, so I do have to.
Okay.
Brian's going to help me solve that dilemma. Brian is my resident tech guy. You know, even like when I got married, my husband was like, I know stuff too. And I'm like, not that I don't think you know, I just forget. It's by default. I just be like, hey, Brian, you know how to do this? You know, why is it my file exporting? And why is it taking so long? Can I use this cord or this, you know, tool? So, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Yes.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on all social media platforms if this is your first time watching. Make sure you check out next week's episode. We still going. This is just episode 100. We still got more to come. And we're introducing a new segment. We're going to announce it right here, called Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with New Projects, where some of y'all from the previous 100 episodes will come back on and give an update. I have a lot of friends, like we started this at the end of 2019.
Wow.
A lot of them have moved on from their current position, the positions that they had. Like I was putting together the graphics, and I looked at the titles, and I was like, wait, They don't do that no more. I haven't talked to this person in forever. I haven't talked to this one. So I've been real excited. But make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Brian H. Waters. Check me out
Don't forget the H.
Don't forget the H. As Brother Fam would say, you got to say the whole thing. It's like a Tribe Called Quest. You got to say Brian H. Waters. But yeah, make sure you, Mondays, I produce The Masked Man, Under the Ringers, and sometimes I'm on there whenever Dave say, hey, Brian, what's your take? But every Wednesday, it's Wrestling Wednesdays, starting early in the morning, well, mid-afternoon, Wednesday Worldwide drops on the Ringer Wrestling feed. Then at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, TWG Fan Club, and then 10:30, the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. So make sure you check out all of those shows. And remember, folks, do not let anybody put a ceiling above your success. So long, everybody.
Bye.